Welcome back, everybody. Joining us now is Sudhir. He is a principal customer engineer. He's down from Microsoft in Auckland. And he's going to be speaking to us about it's 2 in the afternoon. Operationalizing machine learning. Thank you very much. Take it away, Sudhir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sudhir, and I work as a principal customer engineer. And I've been working with Microsoft from last 16 years in a different roles and different organizations within Microsoft. And my focus is primarily work on the data and AI field. And I, day in, day out, in the current role, I work with the Microsoft customers and partners and unblock their journey onto the cloud. So today I'm going to talk about how best we can leverage the Microsoft Cloud Platform and how you can leverage some of the functionality which basically going to increase the productivity in the organization, and how these tools going to help different persona in the organization. Because I believe even if you're working in the Python, there are different personas even in the people who are using the Python framework. You know, maybe some are working as a developer, some are working as a data scientist, right? So the purposes are different, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to use machine learning models to basically infuse AI into their applications and make their application as a smart application, right? So I'm going to talk about all the options, what are available for the data scientists, for the developers, so that you get an understanding of what is available from the Microsoft side for the Python developers. Okay, so before I go ahead and talk about how you can actually operationalize machine learning models on Azure, one of the things that I would like to tell you is about what are the options that are available for the developers, right? Because they are maybe building on a mobile applications, or maybe they're building a web applications, and they don't have knowledge on how to actually build the machine learning models. But still, they want to actually use the machine learning to make their application as smart applications, right? So that's where, let me go back. So one of the options that we have on Microsoft platform is Azure Cognitive Services. So these are the pre-built machine learning models, which is exposed as an APIs to the end user. So let's say if you're working in a developer and you're a little bit scared of, understanding what is machine learning, how it works, what are the terms, what is training, testing, what is the deployment of the model. If you are scared of that, you can just go ahead and use the Azure Cognitive Services. It is an API-based models that are available. And like you make an API call from your Python applications, you can call these models as well, right? So depending on what kind of a business problem that you're trying to solve, maybe speech, language, vision, decisions, and we'll talk about OpenAI as well, you can use this model within ease, right? And I'm going to give an example of that. So what I did over here is, let's take an example that you're building on a mobile applications, and what you want to do is you actually want to build a translator so that anybody who's coming to New Zealand, or maybe somebody's going outside New Zealand, maybe some other country, they can actually use their mobile applications for the communications between the personas, right? So I have created the translator model over here. It's just 4 or 5 clicks. And it will be available. Now, once I have this services up and running, what it provides me the endpoint and the key points. And these are the values that I'm going to use to basically extract with my model. It's taking some time because my internet is through the hotspot. So let me go back to my application. Okay. I hope you're able to see that. Oops, no, that's so bad. Now, so here you can see I have basically provided my endpoint and my subscription key. So this is the API endpoint which I'm going to connect. And what I'm going to do is when I'm going to send the, in the body, I'm basically going to send the text which I want to send it. Yes. Let me go and format. Where is that? You know what, let me see. No. So as you can see over here, no fancy code. It's just you provide your endpoint and the subscription key. And what I'm trying to do over here is I'm simply sending a message to the model, and I'm saying this is my text, and this could be either you're typing or you're speaking, right? What you're sending is you're sending this a text to the model, and what it's going to do is it's basically going to send me the response. And over here, what you can notice over here, I'm basically asking that you need to convert this text from English to Maori and Samoan, right? So what's going to happen is when I'm going to send this text, let me just run this code. And it's going to hit the endpoint. And once it's done, this is the output. I get it over here. So let me just again put it over here so that it will be more clear. Right? I'm still learning Maori and Samoa, but you guys can look into that. It's already converted this text into Maori and Samoan, right? How much time it's taken me to build this application? Probably 10 or 15 minutes. That's all. But today, if you're going to do the same work by building your own machine learning model, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but then there's no point of reinventing the wheel, right? If the model is already available, you can just go ahead and leverage it and make your application smart, right? But you might have some use cases of your organizations or for the customer that you're working with. In that case, if you want to customize, you can actually customize some of the models which are available. Like you can actually customize your speech models. You can customize your custom vision models as well. Okay. So let me just minimize this and go back to my browser. Now, other than that, we also provide the OpenAI models, which is readily available for you to utilize in your applications, right? And these are the various models that are available today, and you can actually use it for various use cases. If you want to use for summarization, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit, or maybe if you want to extract all the features, or if you want to search something, if you want to figure out similarity, you can actually go ahead and use these models to extract that information out, right? So I take one of this model, I deploy this model, and if I go into the deployment, you can see I have already deployed this model. And now if I go into the playground, one of the examples that I have is I can actually go ahead and summarize the text. And the use case of this, you can think about it. Let's say there are a lot of products that your customers are offering in the market, and they're getting a lot of feedbacks, right? Now, what happens is, as a consumer today, if I want to buy in a product, I actually look into all the feedbacks, right? Now, there are huge number of feedbacks and ratings that are available, right? And sometimes it's pretty hard for my customer to take a decision whether they're going to buy it or not, right? And that's where I'm going to use this model to basically summarize all the feedbacks that we receive for the product and provide to the end user so that they can take the right decisions, right? And what you need to do is, for example, you can build your application, send the data, which is after you getting from all the feedbacks, and then you can send it this and provide this to this model, and it can actually go ahead and summarize this for you. So, for example, I have this text. Let me just increase so that you can see it. All right. Now, on the right-hand side, there are various parameters which we allow you to actually tune it so that you can get the better results. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say generate, and it's again going to make the call on the model that I've already deployed. Send this text, and it basically going to generate this summary. Sorry for that. So you can see it's still processing, and yeah, probably because of my internet speed, it's waiting. And while it's coming back, let me just expand this text box or the drop down, and you can see you can do a lot of use cases. So, for example, if you want to do classification of a text, or if you want to convert your natural language into a SQL queries, you can actually go and do that. You can generate a new product name. So for example, if you have various tags that are available and you want to give it and let the machine learning gives you the product name, you can actually go and do that. You can parse the unstructured data, and you can use the classification as well. Let me go ahead and try another one. Just going to refresh it. Okay, while it's coming back, I'll probably move on to the next step. And so once you have this pre-built models available as an API, if you think that, hey, these are the good, but then there are certain use cases where we don't rely on these pre-built models, and that's where we're going to use our own custom environments. We're going to build our own models, and we have the data scientist team who can actually go and do that job, right? That's where one of the problems that we have seen in the field is the data scientists, the development or the machine learning model deployment environment that they need is basically takes a lot of time for them to actually spin up, right? Because there are a lot of libraries that they have to play in their environment, and hence they have to install, and they have to make sure that everything is working fine on their machines, right? So what we do on the Azure, we basically allows you to create the machine learning machines, which what we call the data science virtual machines, which has baked in all the latest libraries that you require to build your machine learning model. Either you need for the Windows or you need for the Linux environment. We have all this, and once you choose that, you can actually specify if you want to provide your own scripts to run on that environment before it's spin up for you. You can do that as well. But if not, then it has the pre-built libraries available, which can get installed. So once it gets installed in minutes, then what you can do is you can just simply do the SSH or RDP onto that machine, and you can start building your machine learning model. So the time that you're going to take to get the approval to get on a machine learning VM or all the libraries that you're going to install, it's basically going to reduce in minutes, rather than you're going in your organization and looking for the approvals or asking, can I install this software or that software? All these hassles will be gone away from the engineer, and hence it basically help you to increase the productivity. Let me go over here. It should have in one of my resource group. And this is trends. See this. Just go back and go back over here. Now this is bad from my side. Yeah, it's connected, but I'm not getting that. Okay, while it's coming back, I'll probably move on, and if it comes back, I'll show you later on. So this is where I was trying to do the, you can see it's a little unstable, my network, but this is where I'm trying to do the SSH on the machine, and once I get into that, obviously you will not have as bad connection as I'm having right now, but then once you connect, you can actually start building your machine learning models with the popular framework that you work in day in, day out. Okay. Right. So these are the couple of things when you're going to start the machine learning models, or you want to utilize the machine learning models in your organization. If you don't have expertise, you're probably going to look into the Azure Cognitive Services API just to make sure if something is already available, you can plug in into your application. If not, if you want to build from the scratch, you can actually go for the data science VM, and you can start building the machine learning model. And it basically going to reduce your time for installing and configuring the infrastructure for you, right? Now, more than that, we also have the Azure Machine Learning Workspace, right? Now, we talk about the data science VM, which is your responsibility to basically, install the not installing the software, but, if you want to deploy a model, if you want to versioning of that model, or maybe, what are the clusters or the resources that you require to train your model, all these you have to take care of it, right? Now, with the Azure Machine Learning Workspace, what we provide is we provide a workspace which basically has the capability of all the options which is required to build the machine learning models, right? So, for example, if I'm working on the machine learning, let me just reconnect to my hotspot. Let me just check. It's still, yep. Connect again. Can I get, okay. Which one do you want me to connect? This one, the Galaxy. What is the name? John, okay. Yep, it's connecting. It should come up. Connected, okay. Right, so here, so as you can see, this is my data science VM, which I was talking about earlier. I can just go ahead and select the options, what kind of a machine that I need, what is the compute power that I need for the machine to build and train my machine learning models. And once it's up, I can actually use this public IP address to do the SSH on that and start building my model. This should also come up now. So let's say if I go for the classification and generate the results. So now you can see there are some examples over here, which basically tells about Facebook is a social media and technology company, LinkedIn is social media, and so on and so forth. So once I provide FedEx, it basically suggests me that it's related to the delivery, logistic, and technology, right? Similarly, if you want to summarize the feedback, the use case that we talked about earlier, I can take and send it, and I can say generate, and it basically gonna give me the summary out of it. Without me building this model, I can quickly get that, right? So let's go back. So we are talking about the Azure Notebook environment, which is inside the Azure Machine Learning Workspace. And what it does is, as I mentioned, it basically provides you an environment where we, as an individual and as a team, we can actually build the machine learning models. We can have all of our assets over there. We can have all the versions of the assets available so that when we're going to use later point of time, we can actually go and do that. Moreover, if I want to look into the comparison of various models, and if I have used the hyperparameters and later point of time, if I want to monitor and measure the outcome of the two models, I can actually go and do that. So I'm going to show you that. Now, one of the things the machine learning workspace provides is you can have the notebook experience. You have the automated ML experience as well, right? Now, this is we introduce so that you as an engineer, you can actually go ahead and rather than you are actually fine-tuning your hyperparameters models, which will take a lot of time for you. You can actually go ahead and create an automated ML job. What it does is it basically takes your data and asks you what kind of a problem that you're trying to solve. It could be regression, it could be classification, and then what it's going to do is behind the scenes, it's basically going to take the data, take the algorithm, and it's going to fine-tune the model by using the different hyperparameters, right? And at the end, it basically going to give you results and tells you which is the model with which hyperparameters is performing best, right? You will get all these reports available, and you will get all the executions of the training of the model as well. Now, moreover, if you are starting your machine learning experience, you can actually leverage the designer where you have the UI space, and you can just drag and drop the things. Now, one of the things that I like is actually spin up the compute for building my machine learning model, or maybe retraining of my models, right? So as you can see, I have on a various option. I can actually create a compute instance. What that means is I'm going to have one machine with a specific size of that machine, right? Whereas if I'm going to have a cluster, I can create a multi-node cluster to train or retrain my models, right? Now, for the inference of a machine learning model, I can actually go ahead and create a cluster so that all the users can actually talk to my models and get the results, right? Moreover, if you have your own compute that you want to plug in, for example, if you're working in Azure environment and if you have a Databricks cluster, if you want to bring that over here, you can actually go ahead and do that as well, right? The another interesting aspect of it in this environment is the environments itself, right? What it does is it basically provides the curated environment. That means if my machine learning model needs the PyTorch on a Ubuntu machine with the CUDA 11 GPU machine, I can actually go ahead and select this without me installing anything on that machine, right? So these are the pre-configured environment that are available. But if you want to create your own custom environment, in my case, I've created one, I can actually go ahead and do that. Now, the whole point is when I'm actually going to run a machine learning model, and if I know that my machine learning model is going to work a specific set of libraries, which is set up in an environment, I can actually go ahead and use that. So rather than me actually recreating this compute instance again and again, I can simply go ahead and leverage the custom environment, which is for my model that I'm creating for my organization, right? This is where you get all your models which you have deployed. So here you're going to get the list of the models. And I don't know recently if you heard about it or not, but we are actually taking a lot of steps toward the responsible AI. And hence, you will see the fairness and the responsible AI options also available in the machine learning workspace, so that it actually gives you the information what's happening in your black box. I mean, machine learning model, generally we say it's a black box model, right? So what's happening inside it, you will actually going to get this information when you go into the fairness, and you can look into the various aspects of the responsible AI and make a judge whether your model is behaving accordingly or not. And then if you're happy with it, you can actually go and deploy for the public for the consumption, right? Now, let me just come to the notebook, and then over here, like you work on your notebook environment, I also have the Python notebook. And what I'm doing is over here is, there's two aspects, right? So one is each cell, what we call as a step, I can actually go ahead and run in the machine learning model. So over here and here, I'm just connecting to my machine learning workspace, because any task that I'm doing in this notebook, I want to actually store that into my machine learning workspace. So whether I'm creating an environment, whether I'm creating a component, all this information will get stored over here. And I'll tell you the benefit of that. So let me just quickly move down and come to. So this is the script that I'm writing, and I'm going to use to create a component. Now, what is a component? So what we have seen is in the machine learning world, there are predefined steps, right? So data processing, then training a model, and then deploy your model, right? Now, generally, when you look into the data processing step, it is the same functions, or does the same kind of a job, right? For example, extracting the training and the test data set, right? So instead of my data scientists keep writing that functions again and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a component, right? And that's what I'm doing over here. And I'm just creating that component based on the script that I've written. right? And there's another component, training component, which basically going to take the input, train the model based on the algorithm that you pass, and then it basically going to give you the output. Now, once I've done that, over here I'm just loading the component, as you can see. So once I execute this, it basically creates a component. If I go over here, I can see the component, and you can see the component over here, right? I can actually go ahead and use this component to build a pipeline, which I've already did it over here, just to save some time. And here you will see that this job is basically runs the machine learning pipeline, and it basically uses the various components, right? So I have two components. I have data components. I have the training component, and you can see here it basically creates this pipeline by using these components, right? Now tomorrow, if somebody in my organization wants to create a new machine learning model, and if they want to start preparing the data, instead of they writing the code, they can actually go ahead and use this component and build the pipelines, right? And now you can build this pipeline through Devops, or maybe you can trigger it from the Workspace as well, if you want. Let me just go back into my notebook. And not only that, I can actually then go ahead and deploy this model and make it available for the end user to consume. So as you can see over here, I actually test the endpoint. And if I go into my models, I have the models available. And if I go to the endpoint, this is the real-time endpoint that is available, which I can go ahead and query and send the test data and get the response back, right? So everything can be done from here, and it makes the data science life easier once they have these components. Now, the other aspect that I have is, so let's say you are having your own notebook experience, and you're storing that into a DevOps or the GitHub. And what you want to do is anything gets changed, be it your code gets changed for building the machine learning model, or maybe schema drift or data drift happens on your data, you want to trigger the pipeline, right? So that's where the Azure DevOps come into the picture. What you can do is you can actually go ahead and first let your Azure DevOps project knows where your code repository is. Maybe you're storing in DevOps or GitHub or maybe any other code repository where you are actually storing your code. And once you hook into that, you can actually go ahead and create a pipeline. So as you can see, I already have this pipeline. I can just go ahead and expand that. And let me just authorize it. Right? And this is my YAML file, which basically have all the information, which scripts I want to run. And I provided the Azure subscription because I want to deploy this model onto the Azure. So I need to provide the connection. And then I basically provides what all is required to run the model, right? So you have requirement files, which basically going to get installed into the Ubuntu machines, and it's going to deploy. So if I just run it, I'll just say run. And I can automate that as well. I'm doing manual run, but you can automate it as well. So if any code change happen or any data drift or schema drift happen, you can actually automatically trigger that job. Now, once these jobs get executed, I'll be able to see my machine learning model deploy here. So let me just go to the experiments. Yep, this one. So here you can see the job is executed, and because I run multiple times, so I can see over here, right? So, yep, I think that's pretty much from my side. I was just want to give you an experience of how you can actually build, deploy, and what are the various options that are available for you, so that it will help your organizations to increase the productivity and save your time, so that you can build more or bring more digital innovation in your organization. So thank you so much.
Thank you.